cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, nah, unlikely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into...
Steeler fans, how's it going? Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a great draft. I hope all the players that the Steelers drafted this weekend was who you were thinking and who you were hoping for. I know I was quite surprised, especially in the first round. So with that being said, let's get into the show. First thing that I kind of wanted to talk about this morning was going to be about those draft picks, who we chose and what I think about them, and more importantly, what the Steelers think about them. So they had their first choice in quarterback in the first round. All quarterbacks fell to the Steelers at pick 20, and they chose the hometown kid, the Pittsburgh Pirate. Sorry about that, guys. The Pittsburgh Panther, Kenny Pickett, and with their first selection in the 20th overall. I was quite surprised. I was thinking that they were going to go with potentially maybe Malik Willis at that time. I was hoping for Jordan Davis. I was hoping for Kyle Hamilton, but when both of those were selected earlier, you know, it just kind of seemed, with given the route that the Steelers were going throughout the entire year, throughout the entire offseason leading up to the draft, that they were going to go with a QB. And so at that point, I honestly thought it was going to be Malik Willis, given the fact that we had signed a Mitch Trubisky. We have a Mason Rudolph on the team, who's been in the Matt Canada offense for more than 1 year and has been, or at least worked with Matt Canada for more than 1 year. And I was thinking that, you know, given those things, that we would potentially get the high ceiling guy, let him learn, let us, you know, mold him in the way that we kind of want that position to be played. And then eventually eventually after a couple of years, bring in him, Malik Willis, or maybe even a Desmond Ridder on to be that franchise guy, or a potential to be the franchise guy. I was surprised, but then again, you know, we can't, well, at least I can't doubt the Steelers. They've done their due diligence. They've scouted every one of these quarterbacks. They've gone to all of their pro days. They met with them. They ate with them. They got a feel for everybody. And with that being said, they had, you know, basically the guy next door was the person that they wanted. You know, we kind of have to trust this process. They, like I said, they went through all of that due diligence. They seen more of Kenny Pickett than probably any other team. And given their response and how they were acting when they made that call, made the pick and talked to him, and how excited they were after the press conference, it was clear and obvious that this was their guy. This was the number one guy on their draft board, and they got their guy. Now, in the second pick, we got George Pickens, wide receiver out of Georgia. This guy has been rumored, and this is probably one of the first one that I thought of when it came to our draft, as far as who we've been kind of linked to this entire time. And so the big outlier on George is the fact that he had an ACL tear early in March last year during some off-season spring ball. And so there was some injury concerns, but prior to that, he was, kind of predicted to be a top 10 overall pick. He, is about 6'3", almost 6'4", ran a 4.4 40 in the 40. He is a contested ball catcher. Even though he got injured last year in March, he came in, and still played in the, later on in the season for Georgia, including in their championship game, and catching a long 52-yard bomb. And so he's kind of shown that type of grittiness and that kind of toughness that the Steelers like in wide receivers. Think about Juju Smith-Schuster last year coming in against Kansas City late in the playoff game, and Kevin Colbert was giddy and excited about how they appreciated his effort and appreciated him coming back in a season where it was his contract year, off of an injury, could potentially hurt his free agency stock. And so, the same thing could have been said about George Pickens with a much higher roof, in my opinion. This is a speedster. This is a person that can get open down the field, can play the outside and in the inside. Third person that the Steelers drafted in the third round was going to be DeMarvin Leal, defensive line out of Texas A&M. Now, one thing that most people probably don't know or aren't aware of is he's a local to where I'm from. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and so he's a local boy, and he actually came out on the news after he was drafted, and they had a little segment on him, and he spoke that he was actually in conversation with the Steelers earlier on in the year throughout the draft process, and that he was potentially going to be their pick at number 20 at one point of this offseason. And so, with that being said, if and it's the coaches are going to say one thing and maybe do another. I mean, they did say that they had a first round draft grade for Mason Rudolph, and so with them going to Mr. Leal and telling him basically they also had a first round grade on him, that leads me to believe that the Steelers, at least in their eyes, feel like they got 3 first rounders in the first 3 picks. And I can't really disagree with that. Mr. Leal was projected to be on a way too early mock draft last year to be in the top 10 for this year, or in the top, or at least in the first round. And so, with all those things being said, I feel like the Steelers really went out there and got their guys. They got their guys in these three first rounds. In the fourth round, we got Calvin Austin, the third wide receiver out of Memphis. This is a little guy, 5'7", about very small, but he's a burner. 4'3", 40. Really took over games. I mean, he's not just a slot or an interior receiver. He also played very well on the outside. In fact, Sauce Gardner had came out stating that early on in his career, he had to go up against Calvin Austin, and that Calvin Austin had remained the toughest person that he had to guard up until that point in his career. And so I think we got a really good high value pick in Calvin. I think he's going to do very well. I think he's going to do pretty good on the inside. With these 2 picks here, though, it kind of makes me wonder what we're going to do with Deontay Johnson. He's a little bit disgruntled right now. He has scrubbed Steelers off his Twitter. He has, did not show up to voluntary work. He wasn't around when it came to the off-field or off-season workout that Mitch Trubisky threw at his Florida home. And so now those things can kind of be, swayed a little bit or kind of smeared to look a certain way. Mitch Trubisky was signed, fairly, prior to that invitation for them to go out there and practice at his Florida home. And so, schedules and things of that nature can conflict. So because of that, I mean, we can't really put too much weight in him not being there. However, he's not showing up to the voluntary workouts. He scrubbed his Twitter with Steelers, of everything Steelers on there. All that is kind of like a circumstantial type of evidence to believe or make us believe that he's very disgruntled. And, all the things that he has been forwarding on Twitter and whatnot leads us to indicate that it's due to his paycheck. It's pretty obvious. And so he's going to want to get a payday. In my opinion, I don't believe he's worth the amount of money that he's asking for. I think that George Pickens and Calvin Austin, and along with Claypool, can kind of pick up a little bit for him. We also have Pat Freiermuth, and then we also recently acquired Miles Boykin. And so, we got a pretty strong and in depth, good at depth in the wide receiver room. And so I think that the guys that we have picked up this year, which would probably be George Pickens, Calvin Austin, and Miles Boykin, are going to, fulfill those slot of the 3 receivers that we lost in Ray McLeod, James Washington, and Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think that the ability that Calvin Austin and George Pickens of catching the ball and making contested catches is really going to improve our offense. I mean, one of the things that we really had a problem with in the past couple of years is drops, whether it's coming from Deontay Johnson, Moncrief, Eric Ebron. I mean, the list goes on. We've had a case of some drops, and I think that we've finally been able to get, we can't say yet, we haven't seen them actually play it down yet. However, their tape and their college resume up to this point have indicated that these guys both are very good catchers of the football. So in the 6th round, we didn't have a 5th round pick. In the 6th round, we get Connor Hayward, tight end / fullback out of Michigan. This man here is going to be the little brother of Cam Hayward, star defensive lineman on our team. This is an interesting pick. He is a little bit too small to be a tight end. He played a little bit of running back in Michigan, also some fullback, can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to push, in my opinion, Derek Watt for that position of fullback and special teams. I think that Derek Watt is paid quite a bit, and he doesn't really have an impact on the offense. And so if this guy here can get on the offense and make, whether it's blocking, whether it's catching out of the backfield, or even what, some people aren't even, saying out there is spelling a Najee Harris, a down or two to for him to run the ball. I think that he is very well capable of doing so. He's a strong football player, in my opinion. I wouldn't, have him out there blocking too much. I think he'd be, blocking on the edge. That is, I think he'd be, he's a little too small for that. However, in certain packages where he's being motioned out there to help on the end and chipping and potentially running routes afterwards and being a lead blocker, I think that's going to be where he's going to find his niche in this game. The last 2 picks here, in my opinion, were more for depth and also guys that the Steelers were trying to, gather, knowing that they didn't want to, fight for these guys in the undrafted free agency market. The first one's going to be linebacker Mark Robinson. I believe he only played linebacker like 1 year out of Ole Miss. He was a converted running back to linebacker. He has some very few and far in between, tape out there for him. But what tape he does have, it does look like he reads the offensive line very well, can read where the running back is going, being that he was a running back previously. And he can, make some sure tackles. It's been, I can't say that I've seen it for sure, but I saw it in a podcast somewhere, heard on a podcast that he, when those guys had watched his film on his passing defense, it wasn't very good. So he's going to be a project. He's going to be somebody that we're probably going to stash on the practice squad, somebody that we're going to try to build up, and somebody who has that potential. But if he's going to make a niche on this team and he's going to make the team, it's probably going to be in special teams. So, that's all I pretty much got from Mark. He really didn't show up much when it came up to, his film. And the last guy is going to be quarterback out of South Dakota, Chris Oladokun. The reason why I think that the Steelers chose him is a couple of reasons. One, he's an athletic quarterback. He's going to be one that's going to move around, run around in the pocket. He's going to be able to kind of emulate or kind of be our practice Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. Also, this, with his signing, we are probably going to go with 3 quarterbacks into the season. We have Mitch Trubisky, who signed for this year and next year. We have Mason Rudolph for this year and not next year. And then we have Kenny Pickett, the rookie. And if we wouldn't have signed, or if we would not have picked up Chris in the 7th round, then that would leave us with some big question marks, especially if Kenny Pickett does well and starts this year. We're going to have to, I guess we could just get a backup quarterback in, next year's draft. But this kind of solidifies, the future as far as our backup position. We don't really have anybody long-term in that position. We don't have a Charlie Batch or a Brian Leftwich or even a Landry Jones on the team right now, and for a long term. So, I feel that if either Kenny Pickett wins straight out or Mason Rudolph falls down to 3rd in the depth chart, I don't think he's going to want to be here. I think he's going to request a trade. He's going to want to be out, and he's going to want to be on a team where he can compete for that starting job. And so that's what I have for our draft picks today. I think that, just to kind of sum it up again, I think we did pretty good. I think the Steelers feel very confident in this draft. I feel that the Steelers think that they got a pretty strong, if they were to give themselves a grade, it'd probably be an A or an A+, giving themselves 3 potential first round or first round grade type players in the first 3 rounds of the draft is amazing. I mean, if there's only one thing left to do is just to see if it works. And so with that being said, what I'm gonna do is just kind of talk about what my weekend was, up to this point. And as everybody knows, or what I put in the videos previously, I went to the Steelers draft party this past weekend in Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was amazing. The weather was great. I loved every minute of it. I actually got to meet a couple of players. I got to see some of the new rookies come out and get interviewed by Greg Wolfley from the Pittsburgh Steelers media group. And I can tell you that with Kenny Pickett, well, the 3 draft players that were there were Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, and DeMarvin Leal. And I can tell you that all 3 of them, they had that it factor, that moxie, that confidence of them knowing that they are there for a reason and they're going to make this team a lot better. You can watch those interviews. I have them recorded and I have them posted up on the channel. So if you want to go back after this, kind of look back and see those, you can see those there. But like I said, it was nice to see them. It was nice to be able to see who they were and see the confidence that they had and the swagger, and it boosted up or at least my confidence. And I'm very happy for them. And I think they're going to do very well this year. And I think we're going to be, this is the first few steps into a very positive season, given it the longer season and the extended playoff. I think that we're going to have a good opportunity to gel and become a team that's going to get better as the season goes on, and potentially could make some noise at the end of the year. So out of the live chat, Jaime Garza says, how satisfied are you 1 to 10 with the picks? Well, with the first half of the draft, I would probably go with an 8 or probably an 8.5 on that. Well, overall, I'd probably go with an 8.5. I was surprised with the Kenny Pickett pick, which that's getting kind of confusing. Pickens. But with the first pick, it was very surprising. I felt that, and it made a lot of sense after the fact, that they were going to do their due diligence and go around and check out all the quarterbacks. But it just didn't seem like there was a lot of noise coming that they were very much interested in Kenny Pickett. It just seemed like a lot of the noise was coming from Malik Willis, and that was the direction that we were going to go. And so with that being said, it was very surprising. And Malik Willis, in my opinion, is probably this year's Trey Lance of last year. And Kenny Pickett is probably a Mac Jones of last year's draft, where the potential and the talking heads kind of pushed Malik Willis, just kind of like they pushed the Trey Lance, like they pushed the quarterback out of the New York Jets. Can't think of his name off. Wilson. Like they pushed them into the spotlight as being the quarterbacks of the future, to being the franchise guys that have the upside of being the next Josh Allen, of being the next Patrick Mahomes. And so far, it doesn't look so well. It looks like Mac Jones is going to be, or is, him along with Trevor Lawrence, are going to be the top of that quarterback class. There's still some football to play and some time to go on, but that's at least from this point of view as far as what it looks like. But yeah, I'm super, super happy about it. Now, I'll tell you what, one of my favorite things that I heard or read about this draft was the fact that in the 4th round, we were picking right in front of the Baltimore Ravens, and they were interested in Calvin Austin. In fact, they were fixing to pick him when the Steelers picked him right before them. And so right there, that just, that one little last jab that Kevin Colbert had to the Ravens was pretty sweet once we found that out on this end as well. But yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with it. But a little bit back to where I was this weekend. I was at the Heinz Field draft party. Now, I've gone to a few games. I've been to a few places, and I've always tried to, I've gone on the field. I've gone on the, I've done the tours. I've tried to wait after the games, after the live games at the stadium to see if I can run into any of the players. And I went to this draft party, and I've always wanted to get an autograph and from one of the players, or to meet one of the players. And the closest I got is I got a high five from from Juju Smith-Schuster in 2019 at the Miami Dolphins game at home. Me and my father, we did a one of those tours before the game. We got to get on the field, and Juju ran around the the field there and gave everybody that was standing there in a line a high five. And so I was pretty hopeful this time around that maybe potentially I could. And the morning, on the beginning portion of the day, they allowed the season ticket holders to go in early and to kind of look around, and I got to go into the Steelers locker room. I got to go onto the field. It was amazing, and they kind of gave us like a draft. I mean, a program to kind of tell us a schedule of what was going to happen that day, and so I was able to see, that the rookies were going to come out, and so I had some time. So I went into the locker room down to the field, went back, saw the rookies. They were kind of far away from where I was, so there's nothing I could do. Um, Kind of got not lost, but lost in time and wandering around and whatnot. I missed my opportunity to go see the Alan Faneca uh, Q&A with Charlie Batch, but I waited a while, and I waited until the Zach Gentry and Tyson Alu um, Q&A, and I'm so glad I did, because afterwards I actually got their autograph. So right here, this one right here, number 81, that one's Zach Gentry, backup tight end, and right here is Alu. And so they were kind enough to autograph my hat. I was feeling kind of like not defeated, but like a little down that I wasn't able to meet anybody or get an autograph. And being there so many different times, like so many years, it's insane. I even tried to go to training camp a couple years ago, and then COVID hit, and so they canceled it. And so there, it is what it is. But I was glad to finally be able to meet a couple players and get a couple autographs and get up close to these guys, and it was a surreal, amazing moment, and it was fun, and I look forward to the season. I look forward to training camp, and I look forward to getting the news of how players are progressing in OTAs and who's taking the starting, or how many reps the starting quarterbacks or the quarterbacks are taking at the number one position. Those things are exciting. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to those things. Um, One other battle that I'm really looking forward to is going to be the battle at the safety position. We have three, as Tomlin likes to say, we have three dogs, but one bone. Three dogs at this, in this saying, we have Carl Joseph, DeMonte KZ, and Terrell Edmonds, all fine for that safety position, alongside Minka Fitzpatrick. Now, I'm sure they're going to use all three in various packages and even have potentially one or two, maybe even all three on the field at certain points. I don't think that I think KZ is a different type of safety. He's not really built, in my opinion, like the Terrell Edmonds or the Carl Joseph that's going to be out in the box, helping with the run. And so I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be great to see how they do that. Also, it's going to be interesting to see how Devin Bush plays this year. I mean, it came out today that the Steelers declined his 5th-year option, meaning he's going to be playing. This is going to be his contract year. This is his last year with the Steelers, unless at the end of the year, we franchise tag him or extend him. However, so this is going to be it for him. He's going to be playing out. He's going to have to play out and have to prove himself to hopefully get a contract. I mean, Terrell Edmonds kind of did the same thing last year. Didn't have his 5th-year option picked up. It was a prove it year. And, well, his contract kind of says what he proved. So Devin Bush is going to have to, if he wants to get a big contract, if he's going to want to at least get the franchise tag or franchise tag money or even 5th-year contract option money, he's going to have to do more than what he did last year, significantly more than what he did last year. And, which kind of hinders us in a certain point, because there is a potential that he could outplay him, outplay a payroll for him. And so if he puts himself in a position where he just lights it out, and that's a great position for us to be in. But if he lights it out and is doing very well, then he's going to demand big money. Now, we don't have a large, quarterback contract to pay out. So it may be beneficial for him and for us to have him do something like that and then, feel more confident in what we're paying for as the organization. Or, it doesn't work out and we can both go our separate ways and pick up another middle linebacker next year and or extend Miles Jack. Now, even though we don't have a top, quarterback contract on the payroll right now, we are going to have to pay Minka, and I doubt we're going to pay Deontay. But if these receivers that we drafted don't pan out, then we're definitely going to have to do something there. And so, these are all what ifs and whatnot. We still got we still got off season to go through. But I'm excited. I'm excited for this year. I'm excited to see, the schedule that's going to be coming out on May 12th. I'm be looking to see if we're playing any Thursday nights and Sunday Thursday night back to back. That would be great. That way I can go and watch 2 games back to back without missing a tremendous amount of time here. If not, my hopes are to go and see the Steelers in Tampa Bay. I've never seen Tom Brady play, and I would definitely like to see our defense, which I think is going to be stellar this year, go up against him and see what we can do against the GOAT. And so that would be great. That is the game that I'm looking forward to this upcoming year. If anybody is interested in tickets, please let me know. Send me a message. I am a season ticket holder. I am in the end zone in the lower level, probably about halfway in the middle of there. Really good seats, really good view. If you guys are interested, I'll be more, send me a message. I'll let you know once the season comes out, which games I'll be attending and which games I'll be selling. I usually sell them a lot less than what you can get, aftermarket, especially people that I could, if I don't have to put it like on Ticketmaster or StubHub and pay those fees, we can get around that. It'll save you the money. So if you guys are interested in those, hit me up. Let me know. I think it says you should start watching hockey. Pittsburgh has the Penguins. I do know. I am aware. In fact, last season when the Steelers were playing, we almost, me and my wife almost caught a Penguins game out there while we were up there, because we were up there for like 9 days. We wanted to watch 2 games back to back, and we went. It was a Sunday game. It was during the day against the Denver Broncos, and then we went to the Sunday night game against Seattle. And those 2 games were crazy. So the first game was in the middle of the day, and it was hot. I'm talking like 85 degrees and humid. And in the sun, it was probably closer to 95. I mean, I was burnt, and it was funny because, well, we were all wearing all black. And so it made it even more hot. And so I don't even remember the halftime show, because as soon as halftime came, I went inside to get out of the sun for a little bit. So 7 days later, we're sitting in freezing rain. And so that is the the difference. I thought that that Texas's weather had some kind of issues with bipolar, but no, I guess it's going to be also in the Pittsburgh area as well. It was so cold that game. We had used some sock warmers and some hand warmers for the whole game, and even at that, I don't think we could feel those. So it was a lot of fun though, and both of those games were crazy. The first game went down to the last play where Pierre had an interception in the end zone, which it shouldn't even have been that close. The Steelers let them get back into it, and the same thing happened in Seattle. Shouldn't have even been close, and somehow we find ourselves in overtime, and thanks to TJ Watt having a strip sack in overtime, saved the game for us. And so that kind of how was the whole year it was always some kind of, whether it was a block punt or a strip sack or an interception, we always came in clutch at the end, somehow, some way. My wife says, Brittany, my wife says, The guy that ran on the field. Yes. So when we were in the Seattle game, there was a guy that ran out in the middle of the field, and that was probably one of the funniest things because they couldn't catch him. I think the Steelers should have signed him to be the backup running back. All righty, guys. With that being said, I'm gonna end it off tonight. I'll be back probably on Friday, and unless anything breaking news comes up, if there's anything crazy that happens between here and there, but between here and there, y'all know the drill. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. That's how you guys get notified that I'm going live and that you guys can contribute onto the live chat, and that way we can have a little bit more conversation. But with that being said, guys, let's look forward to some more Steelers news, and hopefully Pickett can bring us number 7. With that being said, go Steelers.